Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Mayor Fatemi. We got a packed show for you guys today. Starting right off the bat, we got to talk about everything that's happened in the Elite Eight this past weekend, as well as preview some of what's going to happen in the Final Four. Next weekend. Um, Auburn, Florida. We're going to cover in the first segment both of their games that happened this past weekend as well as their game next weekend, along with Duke and Houston, same as the past. We're also going to dive into the scuffle that happened last night between the Pistons and the Timberwolves, and also dive into what their playoff routes might look like, how they're looking in the playoff picture right now, as well as who they might play coming soon, and just really analyze their season as a whole so far. It's a really interesting 2 weeks coming up for the world of basketball. Before we start, I'd like to remind you to please like and follow the show for more content, not only from myself, but also my colleagues. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask to use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net for your questions. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I see it, and also really helps out the show. Again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net for all your questions and comments. So, getting right into it. Yep, we're going to recap Florida and Auburn, and then the great old question. The Final Four is set on both sides. Who is going to make the national championship game? Starting right off the bat, we're going to dive into Florida's game against Texas Tech this past weekend. Florida ended up taking it 84-79, but this is Florida's first Final Four appearance since 2014. Led by Thomas Haug off the bench, scoring 20 points, along with Will Clayton Jr., a absolute stud of a point guard who's going to be an unbelievable NBA talent. Will dropped an extra 30 points with Haug. On the other side, it was Darian Williams and JT Toppin combining for 43 points for the Red Raiders. And yeah, the Philadelphia Gators closed the game on a 23-8 run. Yeah, this game was a debacle of a game, I'd say. It was everything you'd expect and everything you wouldn't expect, all mixed into one. The Red Raiders started off the game really hot from 3-point range, shooting 8 for 19 from 3 to start. And it in the second half, it was literally the script flipped in the second half for Florida as when they started scoring at will from the outside. Texas Tech really used their side in the post, targeting Thomas Haug in the second half. And I think that's going to be a really interesting factor as we move forward. When Florida takes on Auburn, but we'll get into that later on. A big part of this game was the free throw differential. 25-7 in favor of Florida, or 25-13. Yeah, 25-13. Excuse me, not 25-7. That's it's just the team. Florida's an unbelievable team. Really, they got size. They have unbelievable point guard play from Will Clayton. They can defend. They can shoot. They're coached unbelievably. Very unselfish with the basketball. The basketball is like on a yo-yo, passing from side to side. They have an unbelievable offense, unbelievable defense, all around team, and that's why Florida has been one of the number one teams in the NCAA this year. Why they have been seen as one of the best teams in the NCAA this year. It is not for no reason. Florida is just one of those teams, and they have been all year throughout the season, and they're continuing to show it so far in these playoffs. So it's in the tournament. So it's going to be really interesting how they keep playing and how this tournament ends up. But switching gears to the other side, this game was probably the game of the night on Sunday. Second night. There was games on Saturday and there was games on Sunday. Florida played on Saturday. Auburn, Michigan State happened on Sunday. Right off the bat, it was all about Johnny Broom. Broom left the game at the 10:37 mark of the second half with an apparent elbow injury after falling. It looked like he hyperextended his elbow, really. Um, Even though there was a little bit of ankle action, a little bit of wrist action when he fell. He fell down sideways, so all of his weight landed on his left side of his body, from his ankle all the way down to his wrist and his elbow. It was a mess. But not even 5 minutes later, Brum returns and knocks down a three that almost took the cap, took the roof off the building. The audience was packed with Auburn fans, full of orange and brown, and they came to play. Brim finished the game with 25 points and 14 rebounds. He's had a double double in every game so far in this tournament, and it's his 22nd of the season. On the other side, it was Jackson Kohler and Jaden Akins leading the way for the Spartans, combining for 32 points. Um, yeah, Auburn started this game on a 23-10 run and really never looked back. And the biggest thing that I can stress, that I have to stress in this, is every time Michigan State went on a run to kind of try and chip away at that lead, they couldn't do it. Auburn just shut it down every time. For example, um, when with 12 minutes to go, when Brum had left the game, Michigan State looked to kind of cut the lead a little bit. I think they'd cut the lead down to 9 points or so. And the Auburn offense, just as always, is pretty much exactly, we're going to get into this, but pretty much very similar to how Florida plays. Very unselfish with the basketball. The ball is on a yo-yo, uh, swinging from side to side, in the interior, outside, to the corner, everything. This time it landed in Pettiford's hands in the corner, and you could just hear the audience. It's just, the roof almost came off the building in that moment as well. With 12 minutes to go, knocking down a massive 3-pointer to shut down the Michigan State offense once again. Um, Pettiford scored 10 points off the bench and really just managed the game well off the bench, making timely threes, and in general just an unbelievable game for him. For a guy that you don't really use in college basketball, especially coming off the bench, a guy that it's kind of like an unsung hero in a way, and Pettiford played that role to a point. Um, but yeah, it was just Auburn. Auburn is a team, just is a defensive team. They're just full of trees. When I say trees, I mean they're all tall. Everybody on the team is tall, but they also have good, unbelievable guard play. Anybody can shoot the basketball. You saw I literally just talked about Johnny Broom. Broom can bully ball anybody in the post and can shoot from the outside at will. So he's the heart and soul of the Auburn Tigers team, and they're not gonna go away anytime soon, especially coming up against Florida. The team was incredibly unselfish, like I said, and they had 16 assists in the game as a team. Um, but yeah, um, that game ended 70-64, and honestly, like I said, it was pretty much wire to wire for Auburn after that 23-10 lead to start the game. Um, so we get into the question: Florida versus Auburn. What to expect? Predictions. What is the X factors? Everything. The biggest thing for Florida, from Florida's perspective to start, is how are you going to stop Johnny Broom? Um, if Darian Williams on Texas Tech gave the Gators a problem in the interior, Broom could look like a Giannis Antetokounmpo barreling through the lane for Florida. Um, they really just need to get off to a hot start. They need to figure it out how to defend that. They have to scheme something, whether they double Broom, but at the same time, do you risk the shot making of Auburn? Which one do you gamble on? Do you gamble on the shot making, or do you gamble on whoever is going to be on Broom? If it's going to be Haug, Texas Tech targeted Haug in the second half of that game and was just bullying him for about a 3-minute stretch before Florida took control of that game very late. Um, it's just going to be It's just going to be very interesting to see how Florida can scheme against it, and it's just going to be really important for them to get the three ball going. So Broom is not a key factor. They don't really have to worry about it. If they fall behind early, Auburn could find themselves taking this one pretty quickly. At the end of the day, if the three ball gets going for Auburn, Broom is going to be open down low. If Broom starts getting going down low early and they start doubling him, they're going to kick it out to the outside, and it's just going to be a mess. That's the problem with Auburn. Auburn is a dual threat team, and they have been all year. Um, Will Clayton's going to be a really big piece of this game, because if he can shoot the same way he did against Texas Tech, making clutch threes off his back foot, dribbling the basketball, going improvise mode pretty much. He did that multiple times. Him and Haug made a pair of timely threes against Texas Tech down the stretch in that 23-8 run to close the game. So it's going to be really interesting to see how both of those guys, how the whole team, both teams plan for each other, because I think this is going to be the best game. This could be the best game of the tournament right here. This Final Four matchup. It's that good. It's that loaded on both sides. It's that loaded on paper, and it's just going to be a dogfight. But yeah, I think my prediction is Auburn wins the game of the tournament in a buzzer beating fashion. I think we haven't really seen buzzer beaters so far, these playoffs, and it's going to be, I don't know what's really going to happen. Honestly, it depends on how it happens. It depends on whose three ball starts working first. If, like I said, Will Clayton gets going, if Johnny Broom gets going, who gets the lead first. All these little tiny details matter in the flow of the game, and it's a momentum based game. The second the buzzer sounds, the second the ball is tipped, it's anybody's game. So it's going to be interesting to see how the pace is dictated. But yeah, we're going to take a short break, but when I get back, we're going to jump right into the other side of the bracket. I discussed the left side. Now we're going to discuss the right side with Duke and Houston. Be back in a few minutes for you guys.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Alrighty, everyone. We're going to get right back into the NCAA March Madness tournament. There is so much to talk about. I just spent a whole segment talking about two teams, three games. Well, yeah, 3 games for taking into account the game that hasn't happened yet. But before we start, once again, I'd like to remind you to please like and follow the show for more content, for more GSMC content. Also, once again, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show. To ensure that your question gets read on air, I'd like to ask you to use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net for your questions. This puts your question to the top of the list so that I see it, and it also really helps the show. Again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net for all your questions and comments. And we appreciate anything that you guys have to say, and because it helps out the show, and it gives us more content to talk about. And Who doesn't like that? So once again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net for all your questions and comments. Alrighty, getting right into it. We have a lot to talk about. It's so much to talk about that it's going to take two 12-minute blocks here for these two segments here for the NCAA tournament. We talked about the left side before the break. Right after, right here, we're going to talk about the other side because there are always two sides. We have 4 teams left. 2 teams will be chosen to meet each other in the national tournament, in the national championship, and we need to buckle up and analyze anything and everything, any possibility. So, starting off on the other side, we had Tennessee and Houston square off on Sunday night. This was the second game after Auburn and Michigan State. I'm sorry, I blanked. Houston dominated this one from start to finish. While the second half looked a little closer, the first half was pure domination. Tennessee only scored 15 points through 20 minutes, only scoring just 21% from the field, and really looked disorganized, panicked, and overall the group on the offensive end was simply a mess. It was the only way to put it. Houston's defense had them all discombobulated, searching for anything to answer on Houston's offensive firepower, and their 3 was rolling. LJ Cryer had the Cougars rolling on the offensive end, scoring 10 points before the break, and everything looked all Cougars in the first half. But in the second half, the Volunteers started to chip away. Juwan Roberts, but on the other side, of course, there was the Juwan Roberts. Juwan Roberts had also found himself in foul trouble in the first half. But in the second half, he began making his presence known in the interior, making key passes, utilizing his size, and dictating the pace of the game as a whole. With 5:30 to play, Tennessee cut the lead down to 10 in what looked like possibly the glimmer of hope that Tennessee needed. Something, just a spark for this Tennessee offense to get going. They were searching for it, and that little period, down 10 points after being down almost 20 or more than 20 points, they scored a couple buckets before the end of the first half. They were down 20 points in the 20 plus points in the first half. After cutting it to 10, Emmanuel Sharp was the first one to start making his presence known for the Cougars, making a clutch 3-pointer. He started it, and then he made 1, but he also finished with 3 more before the 5:30 break was over, before that 5-minute 30-second period was over. Cryer finished the game with 17 points, and Sharp tacked on an extra 16. On the other side, it was Tennessee's Jordan Gainey off the bench and Chaz Lanier going off for 17 apiece. Overall, this game was really it was a really fast-paced game. Houston dictated the pace. It was their game on the defensive end, on the offensive end, on the boards, everywhere. Coach-wise, Tennessee got outclassed, it seemed. Houston just destroyed them in every area of the game. And it really just felt like the Cougars' aggressiveness to start the game was just enough to just ruin any type of scheme, any type of plan that Tennessee had for Houston. The one point of note, the one note about this game that could be interesting in the Final Four when Houston squares off against the winner of Duke and Alabama, we'll get there, was the free throw difference. It was 20-4 in Tennessee's favor, actually, and while Tennessee didn't really make the best use of it, they were also down by 20. So at the end of the day, they were kind of using anything and everything to their advantage. But if that type of situation comes out in the Final Four matchup, Anything can happen, really. Especially if it'll be a much closer game in the Final Four matchup against the winner of that other game that I just said, and it's just going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. Because it won't slide, is what I'm saying, in the Final Four. If that situation arises in a tight game, it won't slide. A free throw disparity like that. They got lucky this time, but they pulled it out, and they'll have a week to prepare for what comes next. On the other side now, this was probably one of the most hyped up games. Duke on one side, Cooper Flag, Con Cap, Con Kepler, Con Knipple. Um, both of these get both that team in Duke has been a powerhouse all year in the ACC versus an SEC powerhouse in Alabama who has been a little bit inconsistent during the season, but so far in the tournament they've been much better with it, and performed to they've performed unbelievably. Duke ended up taking this one 85-65, and in my opinion, it was Duke's best performance of the tournament so far. The stats don't really paint the picture, but from a viewer's perspective, Duke simply out hustled Alabama in every category. Simply put, they were a very well oiled machine. That's the only way to describe it. 4 players for Duke scored 10 plus points. Con Knipple leading the way with 21. On the other side, well, not on the other side, excuse me. Cooper Flag, of course, did his thing. He put in an extra 17 with Knipple. Yeah, he proved his worth in this game as a top 5 pick. The way he has been hyped since he got out of college or got out of high school, the way he's been hyped all season long, the way Duke has been hyped all season long, it's all worth it. It all makes sense. He proved it. He proved it 2 nights ago on Saturday night. This game happened on Saturday night. It was the late game. Yeah, the Houston defense, or the Alabama defense, really tried to take Cooper Flag out of this game the best they could, but he just became a facilitator pretty much. He realized early on when he was getting a shot blocked, he was getting doubled, tripled sometimes, screens thrown at him. Alabama was playing incredibly physical with him, but he just turned into an incredible facilitator in the second half, and that was the difference in this game. Con Knipple on the other side, or Con Knipple, his running mate. Con Knipple is a guy that you don't really hear about. Why? He's a freshman, first of all. Yeah, Cooper Flag is a freshman, but Cooper Flag is the face of that team. You don't really hear Knipple's name, but you heard it on Saturday night. You definitely heard it on Saturday night. If you watch that game, Con Knipple, in my opinion, looks like he has NBA potential. If you ask me, I have not watched Duke very much this year. The one thing that I've struggled with this year is watching as much college ball as I'd like, just because NBA and the other sports around, everything else around the world of sports has been extremely, he's been extremely, not only popular, I wouldn't even call it popular, but there just hasn't been a lot of time for it. Basically, Con Knipple really looks like a taller version of a Klay Thompson. The ball intellect, the shot making, the passing, the defense, everything. It's on one inbounds play, he was sitting on the front block underneath the basket, and in a blink he wrapped around, set a screen at the top of the post, at the top of the free throw line, had the guy wrap around, had one of the players wrap around, turned around, had the other guy wrap around, and then just made a cut straight to the basket for an easy layup. That is just the definition of in-game intelligence. In-game being able to make decisions on the fly and noticing gaps in the defense. To play like that in an Elite Eight matchup against Alabama, who's been a powerhouse all year long, not only on the offensive end, on the defensive end as well. Alabama is a team full of trees as well, similar to Auburn, in the SEC Powerhouse Conference, who was arguably the best conference this year. They were unbelievable. Alabama was a great team all year long, and Knipple walked in there with Cooper Flagg, of course, and Knipple gave it to him. Flagg trusted him to make shots as any running mate would, or as any leader and running mate would, trusting each other, working as a duo against a team like that. Coach Shire for the Blue Devils had this quote: "This guy's a stud right here. He's the ultimate warrior, competitor, and he's really carried us throughout tonight. This guy's been incredible, man. He's been incredible." That was immediately after the game. And in Shire's words, as a fan, as an observer, as a person that's watched basketball for years now, he's unbelievable. Colin Knipple can run with anybody in the end. Not run with anybody. He needs some time for sure to grow. May it have been one game? Yes. It's fair to assess that. That's not wrong to say. He's a freshman in college, and you have games like this in the March Madness tournament. We've seen it for years. But it's very easy to also say he's a freshman in college. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He is 6'7", being able to handle, shoot, make decisions on the fly, which is an unbelievable quality to have, especially as a freshman on the basketball court. He's got everything that you need to be something in the NBA, to be a star player. But the one thing that he doesn't have yet is the leadership skills. And I don't think he's going to, the one thing I can say is I don't think he's going to apply for the NBA draft this year. I don't think the word is apply, excuse me, but I can't remember it right now. I don't think he's going to, it doesn't matter. But if he does stay with Duke next year, Cooper Flagg will almost definitely declare for the NBA draft. That's the word I was looking for. And if he does, it will be Colin Knipple's team next year. And that's when we'll see. Because will he have the sophomore year jump? Will he can make the next jump as a leader? Who knows? Because this team can really do anything. Knipple and Proctor, even this year, well, they're already in the Final Four. This team can win the national championship. But let's preview this game really quick. Duke and Houston, the biggest thing for this game is how will Houston handle Cooper Flagg. It'll probably be Flagg's toughest defensive squad he's faced so far, and he's really just going to have to be the same facilitator that he was against Alabama. Him versus Jawan Roberts is going to be unbelievable in the post. It's going to be a war. If he can get Roberts into foul trouble early, the same way that Tennessee did, getting him into foul trouble early, this game could be Duke's to be had very early on. But if Houston can exploit that and can make some turnovers, get LJ Cryer going, get Emmanuel Sharp's shot going, it's going to be really interesting. It's also going to be really interesting how Sharp matches up against Colin Knipple, because that's going to be a battle of running mates. Honestly, it's the best way to explain it. Two unbelievable shot makers that can get it done. But regardless of these X factors, really, it's really easy to mark them up on paper, but these games are going to be unbelievable. 4-1 seeds for the first time since 2008, the second time in the history of the NCAA tournament, and these games are for anybody to be had. They're going to be unbelievable. And yeah, next Saturday, well, April 5th, starting at 6 p.m. on April 5th, anybody that's a fan of basketball should be sitting on their couch with the popcorn ready, with a drink, with the TV on max volume, and getting ready for these games because they're going to be unbelievable. And we will see who makes it to the national championship game that Monday. I'm going to take another short break, but coming out, we're going to switch gears from the collegiate level over to the professional level and talk about what happened between a major fight and possibly the resurgence of the Bad Boy Pistons V2. 30 years? Yeah, 30 years in the future. So I'll be right back, and we'll get that started. Be right back, guys.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. We're gonna get right into it, honestly, because we have a lot to cover in this game, and boy, was this game unbelievable last night. The Minnesota Timberwolves and the, so to speak, Bad Boy Pistons, they went to war last night. These two teams do not like each other. These teams are scrappy. We know Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves have been scrappy all year long. Honestly, these last 2 years, ever since the Anthony Edwards era, they've been, they wear it on their chest, so to speak. They're a young group. They're feisty. And then we have the Detroit Pistons of this year, a young group coached very well by J.B. Bickerstaff that also wear their pride on their chest. These are just a group of young teams that were just going at it. Two groups like you had trying to think. Say you had a pit bull going up against a Rottweiler. That was what it was last night. Two absolute dogs of teams just going at it. So yeah, last night a fight broke out between Naz Reid. You would think it would be a simple thing, wagging his finger in Ron Holland's face. Next thing you know is Jalen Duren in the mix, Dante DiVincenzo putting his elbow in Holland's face, Isaiah Stewart getting in the mix, Marcus Sasser, Rudy Gobert, and then it's just pandemonium. Both benches clearing out and into an absolute mob into the front row behind the basket. Yeah, it was pandemonium to say the least, and I would show you guys the video if I could. I cannot right now, just based on the system that we use here at GSMC Sports Network. But the Timberwolves ended up taking this one 123 to 104. Yeah, it was just a really unbelievable game. Unbelievable game. Before that, the Pistons were leading 39 to 29, but in the immediate aftermath after that, of course, the game kind of spun on its head, and next thing you know, we had this situation. And right after that, the final score, when the Timberwolves took this one by almost 20 points. It was also in the Minnesota arena. Minnesota was playing at home. Um, both coaches were also ejected in this game. I don't have the full list, but there are about 4 to 6 players from as combined from both teams ejected along with the coaches. Malik Beasley ended the game with 27 points. Tim Hardaway Jr. with 20 points, and Asher Thompson pitching in an extra 14. And then for the Timberwolves side, we had Julius Randle dropping 26, with Anthony Edwards dropping 25. And then Rudy Gobert, I don't know why I said this last, but having 19 points with 25 rebounds. 19 and 25 for Rudy Gobert. Probably his best game as a Timberwolf, and probably the best stat line I've ever seen. I got to check that. I don't know 100%, but that's easily one of the best stat lines I've seen Rudy Gobert put up in a game in his career, since from the Utah Jazz all the way on to now as a Minnesota Timberwolf. Jumping right into it, we're going to take a look at the Timberwolves side. They sit at 43-32 in the 7th seed right now, just a half a game back on the Warriors. This team, they've won 7 of their last 10 right now, and really it's all about Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle finding their chemistry. I feel like feels like just yesterday was Anthony Edwards working with Karl Anthony Towns in Minnesota. But now Karl Anthony Towns is in New York, and they shipped off Julius Randle over here to Minnesota. And it's taken a few months for these two guys to gel. I won't lie. These two guys, Julius Randle was a little bit of an alpha male in New York. Well, even though they had Jalen Brunson, Randle was kind of the heart and soul of the team, and he wears his heart on his chest. He always has. He's always been a ride or die, always just giving his 100% effort on the court at all times. He's always been like that. So, I think it's taken some time to kind of coexist with Anthony Edwards, but as they close the season, they really have worked on it, and it's showing up in their record right now in their play. Nickeil Alexander-Walker as well has proved to be a reliable shooter. He's played very well off the bench with Naz Reid. Naz Reid has taken over the bench unit. He isn't really playing exactly how he was as the 6th man of the year last year. But that does not take anything from Naz Reid. Naz Reid is a very vital piece for this team and would be a vital piece on any team. Any team would take him. I don't think he's borderline untouchable because of how valuable he is as a player. You won't start him, but if you can use him, any good team would take him as their 6th man because he's that good of a player. He's very Russell Westbrook-esque, but he doesn't have the point guard floor general status that Russell Westbrook has in Denver. But there's also Rudy Gobert, like I said. He's still been a force. Like I said, he had 25 rebounds in this game. But he's still a force to be reckoned with in the interior. He's still a Defensive Player of the Year candidate literally almost every year. And it's always justified. He's a force to be reckoned with in the paint. Nobody wants to go there when they see Rudy Gobert's tower, muscular frame just standing there, just waiting like a statue. But right now, they're only a half a game back on the Warriors for the 6th seed, and if they can jump over them, they would be out of the play-in and would be facing one of the 3 through 5 teams, or 3 or 4 seeds, 3 or 4. But yeah, they control their own destiny as they only face 3 playoff teams over their last 7 games. So they control their destiny. But we talked about the Timberwolves. Let's talk about these bad boy Pistons, so to speak. The V2, the resurgence of the bad boy Pistons. It is a little disrespectful to the 90s bad boy Pistons with Isaiah Thomas, but make no mistake about it. These Pistons are not bad. They have been unbelievable all season long. and they can beat anybody in these playoffs. Just this past weekend, NCAA stole the show. Do not get me wrong. They were the star in the basketball world. They were the star of the show all weekend long. But there was a game between the Pistons and the Cleveland Cavaliers. One more note. I just remembered. There was no Cade Cunningham in this game against the Timberwolves, and I'm going to make note of that coming up right now. There was also no Cade Cunningham in this game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's why I remembered it. And the Cleveland Cavaliers were fully healthy. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. But the Pistons didn't have their floor general in Cade Cunningham. The Pistons took this one 133 to 122. And this is a game that not only speaks for the Pistons, it also kind of speaks for the Cavaliers as well. They haven't really played too well down the stretch these last few games. They're about 500 in their last 10. And they're really not playing too well on the defensive end of the ball. Their offense, do not get me wrong, their offense is still unbelievable. They still shoot the three lights out, similar to the Boston Celtics can. But their defense is nowhere near like the Boston Celtics or the top teams in the NBA. And that is what can get them in trouble when they face a team like Boston or New York or even these Detroit Pistons if they match up with them. But yeah, in that game, one against the Cavaliers, 3 Pistons scored double-doubles. Asher Thompson, Jalen Duren both had double-doubles with rebounds. Dennis Schroeder had a double-double with assists. 7 Pistons scored 10-plus points, with Tim Hardaway Jr. leading the way with 32. Another player that the Dallas Mavericks let go, who it continues to speak volumes about the Dallas Mavericks, who they keep letting go. All of this, like I said, without Cade Cunningham in the lineup. The Detroit Pistons can beat anybody in the Eastern Conference. Outside of probably Boston. Because I think Boston is the creme de la creme of the NBA. And I just don't think anybody can take out Boston in a 7-game series. But outside of Boston, Detroit can match up with anybody. Even the Cavs can give them a run for their money, or the Pistons can give the Cavs a run for their money. The Pistons have a top 10 defensive rating in the league. Jalen Duren's averaging a double-double, 10 points, 11 rebounds. Cade Cunningham's almost averaging a double-double with assists, 25 points, 9 assists. It's really just a core group of guys that are just extremely unselfish, well coached by their head coach, J.B. Bickerstaff, who has done an outstanding job. Borderline, not even borderline, candidate for coach of the year. A team in the Detroit Pistons who have not been good, like really good, since the 1990s. That was the last time they were really relevant. Outside of that, the Andre Drummond years, a decade ago, maybe. The Detroit Pistons have had a long road, and all their fans have had to take the high road year after year. And it's finally good to see this team really reminiscent of these, to even compare to them to the bad boy Pistons of the 90s. It's really must be unbelievable as a Detroit Pistons fan. I would love to be a Detroit Pistons fan. I'm not bandwagoning, but yeah, I can't imagine being a Pistons fan after everything they've had to deal with. This team is legit. This team can beat anybody. They're a 5 seed. They're only 2 games back on the Indiana Pacers for the 4 seed. Can easily get them. And if they can host that playoff series against the Pacers, they're going to the second round of the play. I think they're going to the second round of the playoffs regardless, just because of how weak the Eastern Conference has been and how good Detroit has looked. Outside of last night, before last night, they won 7 of their last 10. Now they've won 6 of the last 10 because of that game. That should be a little bit of a fluke because of what happened in that scuffle. So many players got ejected in that game. Duren as well, Jaden Ivey, Sasser. So many of these guys that are really important. Isaiah Stewart. These guys are really important for this team. And it's just, I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. They should just not void it, obviously. But when we're talking about the sense in general about the Detroit Pistons, this game does not really show how they've played on the court. But it does show how they approach the game of basketball, how they approach every game right now. And it's not even playoffs. Wait till the intensity's heightened in the playoffs when every game does matter, when their season is on the line every time they step on the court and that buzzer sounds and that ball goes up in the air, gets tipped off. Wait till that starts. Wait till their arena is rocking with fans that have been waiting for that moment, waiting for the Detroit Pistons to be good again. That is when the Detroit Pistons can be good. Well, they're already good, but they can really beat anybody. That team, they will just continue to build confidence, and if they win one playoff series, they'll think they can win two. If they win two, they think they can win three, and on and on. It really just reminds me of the Boston Celtics of 2017. But even then, the 17 Boston Celtics without Isaiah Thomas, when they went on the run to the Eastern Conference Finals, did not have this energy. No, I take that back. They had a young Jason Tatum, a young Jaylen Brown, a young core. They had veterans like Al Horford, similar to this team, a veteran in Dennis Schroeder, veteran in Tim Hardaway Jr., young guys in Duren, Sasser, Asher Thompson, Cade Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart. This team looks like a team that's going to be good for a while. And it's a team we've been looking for. We've been really looking for a new team to be good in the Eastern Conference. We know the Bucks, we know the Knicks, we know the Pacers are on the come up, but even the Pacers haven't looked that good this year. They're still good, but if they face up against the Pistons, I don't know. It's a tough road ahead, and we're going to see how it all plays out. As of right now, the Bucks are, we're really going to see how good these Pistons are. Because over their last 6 to 7 games, they play against playoff teams. The Thunder, the Grizzlies, the Bucks twice. Those last 2 games against the Bucks are going to be crucial because the Bucks are currently 1.5 games back on the Pistons. But even then, this team is going to be a team to be reckoned with. And when come playoff time, I don't think anybody in the East wants to see the Pistons, even Boston. Nobody wants to see this team because this team can beat anybody. But on that note, it was another unbelievable GSMC Basketball Podcast. Another beautiful podcast. This podcast is presented by the GSMC Sports Network. A reminder, your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference, more than you think, seriously. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again. This is your host, Mayor Fatemi, signing off, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your nights. Bye-bye for now.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to